what's up? It's your girl Neek, and you're tuned in to Neek at Night, and we have an official update on a story that I covered some time ago. Now, instead of being held through a criminal trial, Jarvis Butts decided to plead guilty 12 days before he was set to go on trial for the unaliving of Naziyah Harris. Now, if you guys have been on my channel, then you know that I've covered this extensively. But let's get into this update. And then for those of you guys who are not familiar with this story, I will replay one of my prior videos to bring you guys up to speed. All right, so let's play this news clip and then we'll talk some more.
And now back to a critical hearing today for the man accused of killing a Detroit teenager. The final witness was on the stand today as Jarvis Butts waits to find out if he will stand trial for her murder. Naziyah Harris was last seen January 9th of last year. 41-year-old Jarvis Butts is charged with her murder and sexual assault in connection with her disappearance. 7 News Detroit reporter Darren Cunningham in court today as prosecutors were calling more witnesses.
The 24th and final witness is currently on the stand in the Jarvis Butts preliminary hearing. But we also heard from Wayne County's deputy medical examiner.
Did you see anything in there that would have caused Naziyah to die naturally?
No.
Wayne County's deputy medical examiner says he reviewed Naziyah Harris's medical records, but the defense took exception to that testimony, considering the fact her body has not been recovered.
So if you don't have a body, you can't really opine as to whether a person is in fact deceased. Fair to say?
Correct.
Okay.
Detroit Police Sergeant Shannon Jones, the 24th and final witness of the preliminary exam, explained how she inherited the case from the Detroit Public Schools Police Department and the red flags that stood out to her from the start.
Number one, she's never been missing before. There's been no updates on any of her social media, which is very uncommon for a young child or a juvenile. They're addicted to those. There had been a last known contact that she had possibly met somebody, is what we were informed, that there was a text message.
Jones discussed the search of the River Rouge area, where clothing items like this shoe, later determined to match one belonging to Harris, were found. The sergeant says investigators executed at least 20 search warrants in the case, including electronic devices belonging to Butts. They say they found questionable Google searches from December 2023, a month before Harris disappeared. The searches surround the belief that Butts impregnated Harris and that he tried to cover his tracks.
What's visited, it's drink me and abort your baby.
All right, so I'm going to pause it right there. So basically, for those of you guys who are not aware of this story, it basically was a little girl who was violated by her aunt's boyfriend. Now, not only did her aunt's boyfriend violate her, he impregnated her, and he also violated his own daughter as well. Now, when she became pregnant, he wanted her to get rid of it, and instead, he in turn decided to cover up what he did, being that he had already been convicted of violating underage girls. He decided to dispose of her altogether. Okay, so let me finish playing this. But basically, to avoid going through trial, avoid his daughter getting on the stand testifying against him, avoid going through everything that everybody has to say and bring up about his nefarious character, he decided to just go ahead and plead guilty and take a plea deal. So let me finish playing this news report, and then I'm going to read to you guys what it says.
The Herbal Abortion Tea by Maya. And the site visited is plannedparenthood.org/learn/abortion/the abortion pill.
Sergeant Jones will be back on the stand at 10 a.m. Outside 36th District Court, Darren Cunningham, 7 News Detroit.
Thank you, Darren. To another.
Okay, so basically that was an old report. So what they did was played a video from before. I thought somewhere in there that they were going to have some of the details, but we'll just read through them. So on the website, as you can see here, it says, according to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, Butts has pleaded guilty in 6 cases to second-degree murder, 4 counts of second-degree criminal conduct, and 1 count of third-degree criminal-esque conduct. The prosecutor's office said that the sentencing agreements are part of the plea deal, and it goes as follows: 35 to 60 years for second-degree murder, 10 to 15 years for 4 counts of second-degree criminal-esque conduct, 10 to 15 years for 1 count of third-degree criminal-esque conduct, and all of these sentences will be served concurrently. So basically what that means is the second-degree murder charge, which is the longer length, all of these other charges are just kind of like, yeah, he's charged with this. Yeah, he got 10 to 15 years, but the same time he's serving the 35 to 60 is the 10 to 15 is also running at the same time. So ultimately, he's going to do 35 to 60 years and basically end his life behind bars. He's scheduled to be sentenced March 12th, and it says that he was dating Naziyah's aunt, who he has 5 children with. The aunt is a complete clown. She deserves to be charged as well. I feel like she offered up her daughter and her niece as tribute to try to keep him in her good graces. And that bimbo deserves to be behind bars as well. You don't need a man that bad that you're willing to not only offer up your niece because you know what type of charges, but you also let him violate your own seed as well. You're a despicable human being. You need to be behind bars. The grandmother needs to be behind bars. And all of you guys are just, ugh. So it says Shannon Harris testified that after her niece went missing, she found inappropriate Instagram messages between Naziyah and her baby daddy. Her body was never found, but prosecutors allege that he unalived her after he found out that she was pregnant with his child. Now, it says he was also charged in other cases, okay? He was also charged for the alleged SA of a now 20-year-old woman when she was 8 years old and 10 years old. And it says he had just been released from prison after serving nearly 10 years for SA for another child. He was also charged in a case where he allegedly SA'd a 12-year-old girl in the spring of 2013 at a home in Allen Park. All right, so it shows like the stuff that they had put up there previous, and hopefully they have their way with him in prison. So again, basically what happened, to avoid any type of trial, to avoid the detectives getting on the stand and uncovering everything. There was even allegations that he had gave like some minors STDs to avoid for him to like listen and hear everything that he's done. He decided to just plead guilty, take a plea, not put his daughter through the trial, not put any other people through having to relive his disgusting, despicable, deplorable ways. And he decided to just go ahead and fess up and live the rest of his days behind bars. Now, I covered this several many moons ago, and I'm gonna pull up my previous video. Now, I'm gonna do like a full breakdown at a later date, but I just wanted to kind of just do a quick video where I broke the news, letting you guys know what was going on. And then at a later date, I'll sit down in front of the camera and then I'll pull up, because there's kind of been like updates in between that I kind of haven't covered because I was like, the trial is coming up, so I'll just cover the trial, But anything in between that I find, maybe at a later date, we'll kind of go over things in more detail. But for now, for those of you guys who are not familiar with this story, you have never heard of it before, let me pull up my previous video where I broke down everything. So when people come in, let them know, like, because, you know, as soon as I start playing my old video to recap, there's going to be several people who come on the live and they're like, didn't we see this already? Didn't we see this already? So just let them know that we're just doing a recap. He's pled guilty. He's going to serve 35 to 60 years. There's not going to be any trial, et cetera, et cetera. But for the people who have not been made aware of this story before, let's take a trip down memory lane and let me pull up my old video. 1 second, y'all. And I'm kind of getting over a cold, so excuse me if my voice is a little shaky because, baby, my daughter came home sick one day, and then the next day I just had the sniffles, and here we are. So excuse that, but let me hold on, let me see. Let me pull up my prior video for y'all. 1 second, 1 second. I mean, I was doing so good, not having no colds, not being sick, nothing. Then you want to come home, girl, what? But anyways, here goes my previous video.
Naziyah Harris, since she got off at her bus stop on Detroit's. No one has seen or heard from Naziyah Harris since she got off at her bus stop on Detroit's east side. The longer this search goes, the more suspicious it all seems.
For her to be late, she has never been late coming home. She's always got permission to do things.
When was the last time that you heard from your granddaughter?
When I dropped her off at school, which was on January the 9th.
Annette tells me when Naziyah didn't come home from school on January 9th, she knew immediately something was wrong and reported her missing the next day.
If you guys are not familiar with this story, this right here is Naziyah Harris, who was failed by every single person in her village. She was failed by her parents who birthed her. She was failed by her grandmother that they passed her off to. And she was failed by her aunt and all of the people in her village. She came in contact with her aunt Shannon's baby daddy, and her aunt Shannon's baby daddy took advantage of her and violated her and impregnated her and unalived her as well.
Caller, what's happening? Who is this and where you calling from?
This is Shannon from Detroit.
Shannon, what's going on?
All we need to do is, the first question is, where's my niece? Where can we find her? That's what we should be doing. Looking. Like we have. So therefore,
yeah,
anything other than finding my niece is irrelevant.
You know, I know you revved up right now. You know what I'm saying? Your name is, in the centerpiece of a lot of shit right now, right? But like I got just a couple of questions on the tip of my mind.
Warning. What she says next is 0 out of 10, do not recommend. What she says next is silly bird brain behavior that is not recommended or advised of any real mother.
Like, apparently this man has had a history of this. Like, so did you know about him being on the sex offenders list or, any kind of activity about that? Like, had you even heard of anything like that before out of him?
When I met him, when I was 19, he did tell me his background. He did tell me his background. Out and out. He gave me the decision.
So
if I wanted to pursue a relationship.
So given that his background was sex offender involving a child, right? And you still made the decision to talk to him?
I was 19. And two, if society can give you a second chance, why can't someone else give you a second chance as well?
What's your emergency?
Hi, I'd like to report a big back, bad built young woman who turned out to be a bigger back, insecure grown woman who knew her baby daddy had a record but allowed her daughter and her niece to fall victim to him. She needs to be locked up immediately for neglect. She cannot pass go, and she cannot collect that $200 that word on the street is she's been putting on Jarvis's books. Book her immediately and take those kids and place them in a loving home that will protect them.
Did you know someone by the name of Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
And do you see Mr. Butts in the courtroom today? If you need to stand up and look around.
I don't see him.
Do you need glasses, ma'am?
Yeah, my daughter has my glasses.
Oh.
911, what's your emergency?
To report Annette Harris for pretending she didn't see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom, fake crying during press conferences, and failing to protect Naziyah Harris. I'd also like to report that Annette was recently spotted with other minor children who need to be removed from her care immediately. All that food that's in her grocery basket is just going to go into a refrigerator that's locked in chains, and it's just not a safe environment for anyone to be in, especially minors. Lock her up too.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl Neek, and you're tuned in to Neek at Night, and it's time to take a deeper look into this Naziyah Harris case. Now, I know this video was supposed to be out a long time ago, but life started lifing. I had stuff going on with my friend, and it just deterred me from the story, but now I'm back. Now, some people got their introduction, like me, to the Naziyah Harris case through the preliminary hearing. And some people have been day one talking about this in the Detroit area as it pertains to some of the podcasters and some of the family members speaking out.
Now, we're about to get into some things, but make sure it's gone viral. The story has gone viral. My video did really well, and it's been going down on the internet since I have been deterred from this story, okay? People done ambushed Shannon and the twins. People done ambushed the grandmother, going in, throwing stuff at the grandmother. Some girl done clout chased and tried to get social justice herself by breaking into Jarvis's shop. The sister of Jarvis spoke out, and she had to say her little 1212 online. It's just been a whole heaping mess.
Well, y'all, hi, what's going on? Hi. I know y'all had a whole lot to say about me online, but now y'all see me. Like, what, y'all ain't expect me to pop up, huh? Move out the way, now you want to move. Okay, well, go ahead. You said we can answer questions, so what's up?
You already asked me questions,
No,
and I answered it.
Excuse me, ma'am. The people of the public wants to know where Naziyah is. Are y'all going to tell us, or y'all going to stop playing games? Huh? How you miss your baby? You don't miss your grandbaby? Huh? You don't care about your grandbaby? Hello? Here, take some cheese balls with your burger. Use a burger. Here, take some cheese balls.
Now, if that stuff wasn't a lot, let's add on the fact that people are spreading around without verifying, without vetting, without even determining which brother this allegedly is. They're spreading around audio that does not, from my vantage point, from what I've seen in the preliminary hearing, it does not match the evidence that was presented at the prelim, but there is also audio going around with what is allegedly Jarvis Butts' brother, giving his version of events of what happened the day Naziyah went missing.
Some antifreeze or whatever he was going to try to get rid of the baby. He gave that to her. You know what I'm saying? And him trying to do whatever he could do. She was feeling sick or whatever. All right, so he gets in the car, drops her off to go back home. All right, when she gets out to go home, she go in the house. Shannon and them get into it with her. They didn't call and see if she was at Jarvis' house because Shannon already knew she was at Jarvis' house because she called to get directions.
What I just played for you is a quick snippet of the audio that's going around. In the audio that's going around, it's much longer. The guy goes into more detail of what he says happened. And personally, for me, it isn't an insult to my intelligence, but that's my opinion. If you choose to believe the audio that is surrounding around this supposed brother, then be my guest. For me, I need stuff to be vetted a little bit more. Number one, in my breakdown of looking for receipts, and even before this audio of Jarvis Butt's brother came out, I found the names of all of his brothers from an obituary of one of his brothers that passed. Now, if people are going to circulate audio and say it's Jarvis Butt's brother, which brother is it? I got all the names. I got all their Facebook pages. Let's match it up. Let's vet it. Let's verify before we're just spreading anything. Now, again, I know that people want answers. There are a lot of people that are invested in this story, and a lot of people already formed in their head what they believe to happen. A lot of people feel like Shannon actually was a part of unaliving Naziyah, and people have formed certain things from listening to psychics, mediums, all kind of stuff that is online. And from that, I guess if you believe those narratives, which anything is possible, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I guess it's easy to also believe this audio. For me, again, it's an insult to my personal intelligence. I listen very closely to the preliminary hearing, and I listen very closely to the facts that they presented. I'm not going for, oh, this Jarvis brother. No. Which one? Which one is it? Which brother? So that we can weed, you know what I mean? You know, yes, we want answers. Yes, we want the truth. Yes, we want, you know, certain key people to not hurry up and put out the things that I told y'all. Video, it's not going to be everything that I originally planned to show you guys, just because, like I said, a lot of content creators have shown y'all a lot of the stuff anyways, and I just was not able to be diligent and get my video out as quickly as I would have liked to. We're gonna go,
or you know, any kind of activity about, or you know, any kind of.
And she decided to give him a second chance. Now we're going to re-listen to that a little bit, and then we're gonna go forward.
Like, apparently this man has had a history of this. Like, so did you know about him being on the sex offenders list, or you know, any kind of activity about that? Like, had you even heard of anything like that before out of him?
When I met him, when I was 19, he did tell me his background. He did tell me his background. Out and out. He gave me the decision.
So
if I wanted to pursue a relationship.
So given that his background was his background was sex offender involving a child, right? And you still made the decision to talk to him?
One, I was 19, and two, if society can give you a second chance, why can't someone else give you a second chance as well?
All right, so as you heard that phone call, you heard a woman who was so desperate for attention of a man that she was willing to take scraps and procreate with straps and give him a second chance. Now, the second chance that she gave him was a second chance to re-offend. It was a second chance to create children to offend. And it was a second chance to have more access to minors in order to violate them in an attempt to desperately have a piece of a man. Because let's be honest, the way he was slanging that peen around town, she barely got a piece of the nigga. But in order to get at least a piece, she was willing to allow him access to her niece, her children, and so on and so forth, which is crazy, unfortunate, and out of pocket. Now, in addition to her failing Naziyah and allowing him access to those girls, the grandmother also failed Naziyah, and so did Shannon's twin sister, who was windmilling like crazy when other family members came to confront them about the fact that Jarvis was making moves inappropriately. Now, the next clip that I'm going to show you guys, a lot of you guys probably seen it already. A lot of you guys sent this clip to me. And it was a podcast where there was two women interviewing two of the family members of Naziyah Harris, the twins, etc., etc. Now, the women that were being interviewed are Janelle and Kiwana. And in 2022, 2 years before Naziyah had ever gone missing, was possibly pregnant, or anything like that, Shannon confided in Janelle. She told Janelle how one of the young family members came forward and said that Jarvis was trying to pay them in exchange for doing something inappropriate. And they said that she was touched and everything like that. She talked about how Shannon tried to dumb it down. She talked about how she told how Annette knew about the situation and how they acted like they were going to call the cops, but then they didn't call the cops and nothing really was done about it. Now, the incident where Jarvis first made a move where a minor spoke out about it was February 2022. Okay? So let me play this clip. I'm going to put the podcast on the screen. I can't think of it right now that I'm filming, but definitely I'm going to give them credit on the screen. And let's play what this family member had to say about an incident that took place in 2022.
I started my issue. Me and Shannon were thick as thieves. I love the children. I would go around, went to Disney World. We traveled together. Then she called me and told me that it was a birthday party in February of 2022 for her second daughter's birthday. And most of the children, pretty much all the children were at the house, the grandchildren. There was one little girl who was another, Annette's other sister's daughter was there. Now, this child had never been around Jarvis alone before, or I think she might have been at the birthday party or something, adult birthday party, but it was at a hall. But she was at Shannon's home, and this young lady was so afraid. Shannon's telling me this. She ran upstairs, frantic and afraid and scared, and wanted to go home and wanted to call her mother because Jarvis touched her inappropriately while she was in the basement playing with the puppy. While this little group, now Jarvis was on a game. He wasn't thinking about going up there with Shannon or nothing. Shannon says all of a sudden, while she's up there, she's trying to calm this little girl down and talk to her. Jarvis comes and knocks on the door and says, "What's wrong with her?" And I said, "Shannon, why are you calling me? Is he dead or is he in jail?" "No, he left." "What you mean he left?" "Call the police. Let them know where he's going, what car he's in."
Right.
"Well, I'm about to take her home, then I'm going to call my mama." "What?" So I called her back like maybe 30 minutes later. Like, "Did you call the police?" "No, my mama said bring the kids home tomorrow morning. She going to talk to them." I'm like, "No, y'all don't need to talk to them. You need to contact the police." She did not contact the police. I found out later the police were never contacted. The next day when I called Shannon, I talked to her. She said, "My mama talked to them and said the kids end up telling us they lied. They was mad because he wouldn't give them no money." So I called Annette and I said, "Annette, are you guys going to call the police?" She said, "Yes, we're handling. I'm going to call the police." So I left it alone. Like, she going to call the police. Shannon assured me that the police had been called, they were involved, there was an investigation going on, all of this. This was in February 22. Well, in April of 22, I called Shannon in a lie. The police were never called. The children were not receiving counseling. Nothing had happened. So I went to the Clinton Township Police and I told them that I wanted to make a report. They told me I couldn't make a report because I didn't have enough information about the child who actually accused him of the sexual abuse. I said, but the other children also accused him of sexual abuse. They said, well, they didn't happen that night. And I'm like, he said it would probably be best for you to call CPS. So I called CPS, and I told Shannon I called CPS. I said, if y'all didn't call, I told you to call the police. I told you to get the kids help. You didn't do it, so I'm calling CPS on not only you, but I'm calling them on your mama too. Because it happens, whatever's happening at your house is most likely happening at your mother's house.
Okay, so as you hear that, Annette was aware, Shannon was aware, and Shannon's twin sister was also aware that there was allegations of Jarvis being inappropriate with one of the minors in the family. And what I want to say is they had a duty to protect those children. They had a duty to bring this to the authorities. Even if they felt like, oh, the child is exaggerating, whatever excuse they came up with to cover it up. Let's say they thought, oh, the children are lying, or, oh, they're exaggerating, which we know they were not. The fact that he was already an offender, the fact that he already had a record for this, you do not take that situation lightly, and you vet it to the fullest extent. You bring in the authorities, you have these kids interviewed, you bring this situation all the way through and through. And now, not only did the family members of the Harris residents, the aunt, the grandma, and the other twin fail these babies, I'm trying to figure out, and I never heard what happened with the mama of the child who made the first complaint. Because what they're saying was, it was a child who was in attendance at the birthday party.
There was one little girl who was another, Annette's other sister's daughter was there. Now, this child had never been around Jarvis alone before. She ran upstairs, frantic and afraid and scared, and wanting to go home and wanted to call her mother because Jarvis touched her inappropriately while she was in the basement playing with the puppy.
Where her mama and her daddy at? Now, we on Shannon and them head, but why I didn't hear about what that mama did to bring charges against Jarvis? Because as you heard the cousin say, well, I didn't have all the details. I didn't really know this child like that, whoop. So I couldn't really bring the info to the cops effectively how it needed to be said. So where was the mama at? Or did y'all not tell the mama, or what? I really didn't get that part of it. If I missed it, y'all let me know in the comments. But that person's mother failed Naziyah and her child, and did a disservice to her child as well by not bringing this to the authorities, because the mama should have been the one to bring the house down way before he could have did anything to Naziyah. But that it didn't appear to happen. Again, if I missed it, if I missed where they said the mother of that child went to the authorities, then hey, it is what it is. Have y'all hit the like button to this video? Because if you have not hit the like button, support it by either visiting my website or a Cash App. Like, what are you doing? All right, let's get into it. All right, so now let's go to the family member by the name of Kiwana. Now, Kiwana and Janelle both had encounters with this 2022 incident, and both claim to have called CPS as a regards to it. Now, let Kiwana explain how she came in contact with this 2022 situation and calling the CPS and all that, and then we'll move forward.
So then I end up going over there to drop off Naziyah some clothing. And once I got there, Shannon pulled me to the side and said, I got to tell you something. And I go, okay, what's going on, cuz? And she said, that Janelle and called protective services on me and lied and said that Jarvis was doing something to the kids. I said, what do you mean she called protective services to say Jarvis was doing something to the kids? How would that come about? So that's when she went to tell me, it was a party, and she explained that what happened at the party, and that they end up questioning the children, and her daughter, along with Naziyah, along with my other little cousin, which I've never met, had expressed to her that Jarvis offered them monies to do things inappropriately. She said, however, she found later on that her daughter was lying. And I said, Shannon, kids don't lie about stuff like that. But a child not gonna come and tell that something like that happened and just be lying. You need to further investigate. No, that Janelle just trying to start some stuff. I said, no, I don't feel like she trying to start no stuff. I feel like she care and concerned about what's going on in the household as far as the children. This is outside of you and her relationship. This is about looking out for the children. And so we began to go back and forth. And I became, what she like to call it, the op, being as though now I'm taking up for the kids. So I contacted Janelle and said, what's going on? Because we hadn't talked for a little while. And I said, explain to her what I had heard and what Shannon had said. And she told me what happened and what transpired. So that's when I called Protective Services.
Kiwana Morton and her cousin Janelle are both relatives of Naziyah Harris. In February of 2022, Janelle says she learned of allegations of improper touching involving butts and other small children. She says she was told about the claims while talking to her niece, Jarvis Butt's girlfriend, and that the alleged victims were Naziyah Harris and 2 other children. Her complaint came in on April 13, 2022. There was an incident at a birthday party, the complaint reads. One of the children that attended the party accused Jarvis of abuse. Naziyah, and name withheld, reported that Jarvis touched both of them inappropriately as well. Jarvis touched, name withheld, in her private area, and it hurt. The next day, Janelle would receive a text from her niece, Butt's girlfriend, confirming that CPS had contacted her. CPS called me, the text reads. They called about the well-being of my kids. Then they called back to get Jarvis info. A CPS spokeswoman would not tell 7 News Detroit if investigators ever questioned Naziyah Harris after receiving the complaint. But we do know it wasn't the only complaint filed with CPS, naming Jarvis Butts. Internal CPS records we obtained show that investigators looked into that complaint, conducting a face-to-face interview with Butts, who strongly denied the allegation. A forensic interview was conducted with the alleged victim, and no disclosures were made. CPS said the home was clean and free of observed safety concerns. The allegation was denied, assigned a low risk level. These are 2 complaints of at least 5 filed with CPS since 2015, naming Jarvis Butts.
Now, as I stated, this all went down February 2022. Now, as we watched the preliminary hearing, we heard from the detective that there was inappropriate text messages in the fall of 2022. So, knowing that this situation happened, they allowed him to continue to have access with these girls. And in the fall of that year, then Naziyah's texting him, talking about going down to the basement. She's texting him about, all of these things. Matter of fact, let me replay what the detective had to say as it pertains to these 2022 text messages, and then we're going to go forward.
Can you read the messages that were sent from that number to Jarvis Butt's number, or I guess the messages that were captured within People's Exhibit 15? Oh, including the dates and approximate times.
So the first message is September 24th, 2022 at 22:15 hours UTC. She says, "Bald head Janiyah, come here.
And that's to a number that's not Mr. Butts.
Correct.
Okay.
Then the next message is on September 27th, 2022. All of these dates are from 2022. So September 27th at 1:37 a.m. UTC, it is sent to Mr. Butts' phone, "We fitnessing, happy birthday." Immediately after that, at the 17-second mark, again to Mr. Butts' phone, it says, "Come on." On that date, September 27th at 1:52 a.m., another message is sent to Butts' phone asking, "You okay?" September 27, 2022, 1:54 a.m., she has sent a message, "Where are we doing it at your choice?" Immediately following that text, a message is received to Naziyah, to this text now number, from Mr. Butts' phone that says, "You tell me." 9:27, 1:55.
All right, so these messages is her asking him where they about to do it at. This was in September of 2022, and she disappeared in January of 2024.
1:56 a.m. A message is sent to Naziyah from Mr. Butts' phone that says, "You sure?" At 1:56 a.m., a message is sent to Naziyah, from Naziyah to Mr. Butts, saying, "Or job." At 1:57 a.m., a message is sent to Naziyah from Mr. Butts' phone, saying, "Can you suck my dick, please?" The message immediately following that, from Mr. Butts' phone to Naziyah, and make sure you erase the messages. Still September 27th, 1:59 UTC, a message is sent to Mr. Butts that says, "Okay, that is what I planned to do." Another message is immediately following that at 2:01 to Mr. Butts. "You turn me on just looking at you," and then there's a bunch of letters, which possibly is maybe an image that was sent that doesn't capture on the messages.
Okay, so as you've seen that, disgusting, despicable, they should have been under the jail alone from that. But let's show more neglect. So 1 year exactly before Naziyah was unalived and possibly pregnant, there was an all-out war on social media with Naziyah Harris' family. There was a family member by the name of Kenya, and Kenya was going toe-to-toe with them, calling them out and telling them that they were protecting a PDFer. She got wind of this situation that happened in 2022, and she got wind that, nothing was done about it. And she got wind that they were still allowing Jarvis access to these children. And she decided to blow the whistle on Facebook and put them on blast. Now, according to Kenya, in her Facebook feud with Shannon, the twin, and calling out Annette, she did say that she was going to call the authorities and she was going to get the authorities involved. So I'm just going to guess, because the other cousin said that they called CPS and they did nothing. I'm going to guess that she did go to CPS. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say she went to CPS and nothing was done. And CPS also failed Naziyah 1 year prior to this situation. But let's get into this back and forth feud between Kenya, Shannon, the other twin, and all of that. Now, Kenya, a lot of the back and forth in this feud that went on Facebook, the twins are alluding that she had a source and she had a battery put in her back. And I'm going to guess from how the information is lining up, that her source that they kept referring to, I'm just going to guess that it must have been Janelle and Kiwana, the prior family members who have been speaking out and advocating in 2022. Okay? Because they were talking about, oh, your source not bold enough to speak, whoop, this, that. You speaking on their behalf, this, that. And so on and so forth. So let me play this video. I recorded this previous when I was first supposed to put this video out. But I'm not going to replay me going through all of the receipts. So let's cue up that footage and go on this rabbit hole of this Facebook feud. All right. Now, I don't know if the Backyardigans need to sue y'all or you need to sue the Backyardigans because somebody stole the other one's look. I'm like, sis, it's giving somebody copying somebody. But anyways, so her first post on social media was the following. January 7th, 2023, 1 year before Naziyah went missing. It says, individuals that protect child violators and frighten their own children to not tell the truth is an absolute disgrace, and not only that, and still allow him to be around is sickening. She then came forward with another post. These things have been told to me, and I will make the tables turn. There will be no story you can tell the truth will be exposed, and so will the individuals who are aware these things are happening. From what I understand, your mama did nothing when it happened to you. So now you are allowing it to happen to yours. The chain will be broken. Your family dark secrets have been exposed, and so will you. So then I presume that Shannon replied on her social media, right? So I believe, because I can't see all of Shannon's posts, but this appears to be a reply to Shannon and making her actually go out and just expose what she knows. Okay? So let's say Shannon posted something and then this was the reply. The twins, as I hear it, there is a Chester the PDFer among them, and it has been confirmed by someone else. So speak facts before running your mouth off. So under the post where it said that they had a Chester the PDFer that they were basically covering for, Shannon and her bobblehead twin sister, instead of hitting like to it, they laughed at the status. So on Facebook, you're able to have different expressions. You can be sad, you can just simply like it, or you can laugh to the post, and they selected to their like to be a laugh, and they laughed at this post. Shannon and her bobblehead twin sister thought it was funny, and they laughed at this, as you see them in the likes. So Shannon Kidd's father offered his own daughters and someone else's daughter money to suck his. He has been to prison for PDFing a 13-year-old girl. And since Shannon don't want to raise the kids on her own, she told her kids that so they wouldn't get him in trouble. Shannon would rather lay up with the kid's father than to protect them from a child PDFer. But hey, there is more. Lady is so messed up because Annette did not believe her. Now, Lady is Naziyah's mother. That is the nickname for Naziyah's mother. Lady is so messed up because Annette did not believe her when Annette's husband Charles PDF'd her. She swept that under the rug, so there you have it. It runs in the family. Child PDF is okay at the Harris residence, and so is the holier-than-thou Annette. She knew about Jarvis. Don't call me out when I talk something. I got the facts. If you don't have the whole story in me, shut the F up, okay? So she was blowing the whistle on the situation, and she said, listen, something happened to Naziyah's mother, and she wasn't protected. And now you have Naziyah's daughter, and she's not protected, and these things are being covered up in your household. All right? So in between that last message and this message, again, I believe Shannon herself made a post. I can't see her post because she made a lot of her things on her page private. She made a post and she says, I got more, so type some more ish to me. Him offering them money, that was confirmed today. I talked to the little girl. All right? So she says she confirmed it and she talked to the little girl. So you better believe they're going to have her on the stand at trial and giving her firsthand account of her talking to whichever little girl she's talking about. All right, and just to pause this for those of you guys just now coming in, this is me recapping my previous coverage on this story. Jarvis Butts decided to plead guilty to avoid trial, so there will not be a trial, but this was, prior when I was going through all of the different receipts in the case and going through all of the stuff that I was able to uncover on social media and going over how a year before she ever got pregnant, how family members was calling it out that he was violating them. And for a year prior to her pregnancy, her family did nothing. I believe that the grandmother and the aunt should get criminal charges. I don't think that Jarvis is the only one that should go down for this because they had willful neglect. And it's almost like they were offering the girls up to him to have him in their good graces. I feel like they definitely need charges. Them removing the kids from their care, to me, is not enough. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then I'll go over a couple of different news articles with you guys to see if there's any more details that have come out. She then says, I speak on something, I'm speaking the truth. I will be making them calls. All right? So she's alluding that she, a year prior to Naziyah going missing, she's going to be making them calls. What are those calls? Calls to CPS to try and get them removed and out of their care and protected. All right, so this is another post where it looks like she was replying to them, either Shannon or the sister. It says, for the book, I have never ever talked or said anything about anyone else in this family being gay. That one is dead. Now, if you look at the comments, it said that this post had 17 comments on it. Now, if you go into the comments of this post, well, y'all can't go because the girl done deleted the stuff off her page, but I caught it before she deleted it. So anyway, if you go into the comments like I did, you'll see that Kenya was talking back and forth with someone in the comments. Now, when I clicked and selected all comments, only Kenya's comment showed up, and per the twins' words, they blocked her. So if they were going back and forth with her, and that would explain why there's 17 comments and it only showed me 2. So as you can see in this thread, she replied and she says, y'all more worried about who told than the mental state of the little girls. And again, I see why Lady is effed up. So again, Lady is Naziyah's mom. And as you guys know, or some of you guys may not know, Naziyah's mother is an addict. And she is a very bad addict. And therefore, she was not the one to raise Naziyah. And it is alleged that the reason why she's messed up, according to these family members, is what happened to Naziyah was done to her, and so on and so forth. But anyways, let's go forward. But as you can see, she was going back and forth with the twins, and those comments, I can't tell you what they said. I just seen what she said. Now let's go on. All right, so this next post looks like Shannon was talking mess again. And from what Kenya is saying, I'm going to assume Shannon was denying that he was an offender, which per the beginning of this video, we know that before she got with Jarvis, she admitted to Mark on the phone that she knew he had a record, and she knew that back when she was 19 years old. So now when Kenya is blowing the whistle, she's replying to Shannon 1 year prior to And when I made this video, I was able to pull receipts from one family member, but I wasn't able to see what the aunt, Naziyah's aunt, had to say, because she had deleted everything off her page doing damage control, trying to like hide that she was complicit in all of this. So when I'm saying like, oh, well, she must have said this and this is a reply, what I'm saying is I got one-sided receipts of everything that one of the family members was clapping back saying, and they were saying in response to what Shannon was saying. But Shannon Bimbo, funny, bad built self, you know, she went and deleted everything off her page, just so that you guys, you know, understand.
Naziyah going missing, and I'm gonna assume in January of 2023, she wasn't even pregnant yet. So Kenya puts his offender business on blast, and she pulls up his record that shows that he is a registered child diddler. And she says in her caption, he not what? He not what? And he don't like young girls. How old is he? 1982, you was born. His first wife divorced him because he was PDFing his daughter. Facts. He got his tail beat by some little girl family members because he was touching on her as well. Okay, and accompanied with this post, she pulled up Jarvis's record. Now, if you go on to the Michigan Offenders Registry, I'm not sure why they have Jarvis's name right here spelled incorrectly, but if you go to Michigan Offender Registry and you type in Jarvis Butts, this post right here, or this offender registry, will pop up, and it shows that Jarvis Butts is other names, amongst other names that he goes by, and then this name, I'm gonna assume that whoever officially typed it in had probably did a typo, but it has all of his other, you know, names attached to this record as well. So if you type in Jarvis Butts, this Jairus Ramon Butts will come up. Same person, tomato, tomato. But anyways, she blew the whistle a year before. All of these messages that I'm reading, y'all, is a year before, but heavy on this. Okay, so let's continue. And then she tells Annette, I'll be at your church, Annette, to tell them how you threatened all the girls not to say a word to anyone. She then says, at the end of the day, this information was brought to me to help the situation. You decided to respond on Facebook as if you thought you was going to be able to control this. Your negative response blew this wide open. The stupider your post was, the bigger minds became. People who allow children to be compromised by any adults need to be prosecuted, period. What's done in the dark and swept under the rug will see the light and be uncovered. So again, she's responding to things that Shannon is saying. Again, I can't access Shannon's page as far as what she was responding to, but it's clear Shannon made a post and she clocked her in the next post. All right, so then the next morning, here comes the other big back twin. So the twin whose 9-year-old testified and said that Jarvis tried to violate her and that she witnessed him violate Naziyah and her other cousin, being Shannon's other daughter. The mother of the 9-year-old that he tried as well, she jumps into the arena to step and defend Jarvis. So she hops into the ring, and she says, stay in your damn lane, Kenya. Since you all over here, I got your nose. Found it in our business. You want it back? Hope you're up getting ready for church. You better beat the deacons there. All right, so she said that, and I believe she was replying to when the night before Kenya said, I'll be at your church, Annette, to tell them how you threatened all the little girls not to say a word to anyone. So the other twin is saying, girl, you better beat the deacons there. She then says, don't know why it's so hard for people to keep their nose on their face and mind the business that pays them. Since you got all this energy bashing people like you said when it's said, and don't have the same energy making a public apology, dummy head. And responses like this is why I think that they're a little bit delayed. Cause What are you saying? So when she made that post and she basically said, I don't know why it's so hard for people to keep their nose on their face
and mind the business that pays them, yada, yada. Kenya then responded to her and she said, when it all blows open, prepare to be embarrassed that you, amongst others, are okay with child PDFers. All right? So she's responding to the other twin, like, girl, when it's all blow over, just know that you were complicit as well. All right? So then the other twin, she says, somebody needs to petition Kenya aid to the psychiatric ward, crazy home. Guess she stopped taking her meds. Kenya replies and says, I swear, every smart A post you make, I have a better response. I will clown you. So then the bobblehead twin responded to this post and she wanted an apology for the accusations that Kenya had laid out. Don't know why it's so hard for people to keep their nose on their face and mind the business that pays them. Since you got all this energy bashing people like you said, when it's said and done, have that same energy and make a public apology, dummy. All right? So she was replying back to Annette because Annette was saying that, you know, when it's all said and done, she's going to prepare to be embarrassed. And this twin says, no, you prepare to make a apology to us publicly. Okay? So she's disregarding it, even though he's an offender. Even though if there's other girlfriends making allegations, there's chatter amongst other people, and even though a minor in their household had made claims and came forward, she's standing beside her sister and also defending Jarvis and telling the cousin that is bringing this to social media that she's the one that's finna be apologizing and being sorry. All right? Amongst others, are you ready to kiss my behind? Messy at its finest. Then she says they using their puppet because the source can't do it themselves. Continue being your source spokesperson. Continue working for free and entertaining us on Facebook. We all know the person/persons that's doing it, and my quest won't be wrong either. All right, so she's basically saying, listen, I know Janelle and Kiwana is behind this, and I know that they got you up to this, all right? She says, stupid is as stupid does, and then one of her cousins commented and said, you know, what's going on? And she said that she was going to call her. All right, so I have to pause this family drama real quick to promote myself, period. Because if I don't promote myself, this old hag in her place where she belongs. I got time today. Her old A, she worrying about everyone else's problems, but can't mend the ones that broken at her expense. So right here, she's saying she's worried about everyone else's problems. So is you admitting? Were you admitting right here 1 year prior to Naziyah going missing that there was an issue with Jarvis and these kids? And you're saying that Kenya worried about the problems in y'all household, but not the problems in her own? Make it make sense. Y'all knew this stuff was going on, and it's ridiculous. Because y'all, this is one of those pseudo slips that they be saying. What is this? Pseudo slips or whatever, however it go. So her friend says, it's been going on long enough. You got better things to worry about than her. No, the better thing that they had to worry about was listening to what she was saying and protecting those kids. Another person chimed in under her thread. Friend, you don't even be doing all this. I read the whole ish. You gotta erase it, boo. Y'all just going too far. And the twin says, friend, I'm always quiet. But when you go below the belt discrediting my family's character, it's a different story. 304s know where we lay our heads, and no 304 about that life at all had to put this old 304 in her place since she don't know where she stand. And then this person says, as you should. Sometimes you gotta leave they A on red too. This ish is beneath you. And she replies, it's a shame. She in her 50s acting like Captain Save-A-Ho. And when I read that, I'm like, she telling you that there is a predator that you guys are protecting. She's telling you that said person tried to violate one of your children in the home. And your response is you had to put her in her place because she's in her 50s acting like Captain Save-A-Ho? So then she says, didn't you get pregnant with your oldest at 15? And didn't you lie about your age and your BD went to jail for that? So here's part 3 you were asking for. The real tea is the family doesn't F with your old dumb A. All right? And then on here she says, 1 thing's for sure and 2 things for certain. I ain't have no one set up though. You did. All right? And in the comments, you can see one of the comments that she made. It says, you worry about my mama so much. You just want to eat her pee. It's always my mama. But to my acknowledge, you couldn't take care of your kids. You was too busy chasing Wanky. And your mother wasn't a mother to you with her crack ed. What parent choose wanker and crack over their kids? You're not doing good if you still calling your kids, asking them for money, broke B. All right? So as you see in her comments, she's basically replying to Kenya. And if you can see right there, it says that there was 24 comments on this thread. Now, in later posts, she says that she eventually ended up blocking Kenya. So I believe that there was a lot of back and forth between her and Kenya under this thread, because when you highlight, click all comments, this is the only one that shows up. Meaning Kenya was tearing that tail up under them threads, and it still, made a log that there was a comment made, and she blocked her. So therefore we can't see what Kenya said, but, she ended up blocking her or whatever. Now she's back to spreading rumors. This is so entertaining. Pass the popcorn. Y'all better come on. The show about to start again. Then she says, y'all better come get this dingleberry head A.B. I see you still essing it easy. Your jaws should hurt by now. I forgot. That's why they call you Jaws. Now, girl, them clapbacks need some work because it's not giving at all. So she says, you're miserable who can't understand normal thinking. I most definitely got time today. Wish a MFer would jump silly. I light your A up too. I'm on whatever time you on. Okay, so she like, girl, get with it, let's get silly. Like, what's up? What's good? Like, what's up? And she's ready to rumble on behalf of her sister's PDF baby daddy. All right, so I'm going to pause right there. There's some people that are coming in right now who is wondering what is going on. If you guys are just tuning in, Jarvis pled guilty to the murder of Naziyah. Now, what I'm doing right now is playing my old videos to show people how much of a mess, and basically to show people how much her village failed her. There were so many people who were aware that he was inappropriate with these girls, and they just idly stood by. There was these messages that I'm showing you right here that happened 1 year prior to her disappearance and prior to her getting pregnant, to where there were so many chances for the family to intervene, take action, and put this to a halt. And they chose to do nothing. They chose to offer her up as tribute. Now, today, Jarvis decided to plead guilty. Now, by him pleading guilty, that means that he doesn't have to go through trial. He doesn't have to rehear all of the nefarious things that he did. He doesn't have to hear every single person that he violated come to the stand. And we don't get to hear every single thing that the investigation uncovered, okay? He's just going to take his L of his own doing and go away for the rest of his life. him pleading guilty, he is going to be sentenced on March 12th. And on March 12th, he will be facing 35 to 60 years. All right. Let's look up some news reports that have come out since I went live to kind of read up what they're saying. And then I'll go back to my previous coverage and share with you guys all of that. So this is Court TV. They just put this up, I want to say like an hour ago. And I'll read through it so that we can get the latest of what is being reported. So it says, and sorry if I'm a little choppy because, child, I'm getting over a little code, but we're going to try to get through it. So in this article, it says, Jarvis Butts, the man charged in connection with the murder in the SA of 13-year-old Naziyah, has pleaded guilty in that case and several others. The 42-year-old was charged last year in connection with her unaliving and SA in other cases. He was set to go to trial for all of this later this month, but he chose to take a plea deal instead. So as part of a plea deal, it was said that several charges were dropped in each of those cases, including the SA charge in Naziyah's case. So he was able to drop, even though we know that she was pregnant by him, even though we know that in order for her to get pregnant by him, he had to SA her. As a part of the plea deal, they chose to drop that charge, and he was charged with second-degree murder. So it says, according to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, Butts had pleaded guilty in 6 cases to second-degree murder, 4 counts of second-degree criminal SA, and 1 count of third-degree criminal S conduct. So there was several other young victims that he violated as well that were all like a part of this case, because not only did he violate Naziyah, he violated his own daughter. He violated his baby mama's sister's child, Naziyah, and so many others. So he has all of these other S charges for all of these other girls as well. So it says the prosecutor's office said that the sentence agreement is part of the deal, and he is to serve 35 to 60 years for second-degree murder. When he gets sentenced, we'll get an exact number. Right now, this is just kind of like the ballpark. The judge will lay down the actual, number. And then 10 to 15 years for 4 counts of second-degree S conduct, 10 to 15 years for 1 count of third-degree criminal S conduct, and all of these sentences will be served concurrently. He is scheduled to be sentenced on March 12th. And then it says he was reportedly dating Naziyah's aunt, who he also has 5 children with. And when they did the preliminary hearing, the bimbo aunt, she testified that her niece went missing. And after her niece went missing, she found these messages between them. It says Naziyah's body has never been found, but prosecutors allege that Butts, unalived the teen after he found out she was pregnant with his child. Prosecutors also charged Butts in other cases. He was accused of the alleged SA of a now 20-year-old woman when she was 8 years old and a 10-year-old. Butts has just been Prior, he had been released from prison after serving nearly 10 years for SA of another child. He was also charged in a case where he allegedly SA'd a 12-year-old girl in the spring of 2013. So these are all of his other charges that he got lumped all in with this case. And the sentence will be laid down on March 12th, where he has 35 to 60 years for the second degree, 10 to 15 years for 4 counts of second degree, and so on and so forth. I hope he rots in jail. He deserves every bit of them turning him every which way but loose. And you know, it's just that on that on that. Now, those of you guys who don't know what it means when it says all of these lengths of time to be served concurrently, that just means when his 35 to 60 years start, his 10 to 15 years are all running at the same time. So the number at the top is the one that really matters, because these other ones are less than that, and those are going to run out before he gets to the 35 to 60, and that's the sentence that, you know, has the longest time, because these ones at the ladder are running at the same time. Okay. So somebody said, did Shannon get immunity? I have no idea about her getting immunity. She needs to be under the jail. If they did give her immunity, I mean, I don't know. I'm not seeing that reported. Doesn't mean that that's not true, but I don't see that, you know, not saying that that's not true, but I don't see that. Also, there was another post that I had seen where it said that as a part of his plea deal, he agreed to give information as to her body and things like that. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys really quickly. And then I'll play my video again on everything that I covered prior. So according to CBS News, and let me just read it from my phone, it says, hold on one second. All right, so it says, as part of the plea agreement, additional charges of criminal conduct will be dismissed because he also agreed to provide a truthful statement regarding the body of Naziyah Harris. So, as a part of this plea deal, he agreed that he will tell the truth of what happened to her. So, I'm guessing we'll hear later exactly what happened to her. Whatever it was that happened to her, I mean, was horrible, like deplorable, like he killed her, you know? So it's like the intricate details of how he did it. I mean, I feel like it's sad, but at the same time, I just want him to be turned every which way but loose. The facts of the matter is he unalived her. He not only did he unalive her, but he assaulted her. He impregnated her. He violated her. He groomed her. Not only did he groom her, he did his daughter, his baby mama's niece, and all of these other children. And my thing is, are women that desperate for a piece of a man? It never gave this desperate. Like, if you're this desperate, if you're somebody that's watching this live and you have a Jarvis in your life and you know that he previously had a record for essaying a minor and he previously had these type of charges, and you're sitting there still dating him, still allowing them access to your kids, you're a bimbo and you deserve the worst. I hope he does you the worst. If anybody listening is in a similar situation, dating a Jarvis, all for the sake of having a piece of a man, I hope the worst for you, okay? Because it's never that serious to get a piece of a nigga, because he was not even faithful to any of these women that he was with. He was literally dating women to have access to their kids. And a lot of you women, I understand that everybody doesn't have a village. And I understand that it's not as easy. Now, I'm a person, I do have a village. My mom's still living. I have, an enormous amount of supports from my cousins, my aunts, and if, like, when I was in New York, like, my entire family was helping me out with my baby. I understand that my circumstance is not everybody's circumstance and everybody doesn't have a village. I get that. But still, even without having a village, we are in 2026 and there's so many jobs that you can do from home that you don't have to allow these N-words access to your kids. You know, a lot of women are just letting their boyfriends babysit their kids and letting their boyfriends have all this access to their children. And it's just like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, protect your kids. Protect your children. Protect them. It's never that serious to have a piece of a nigga, because Jarvis was slanging it all around town. He was with Shannon. He was with other women. He wasn't faithful to none of these women. And then while he's dating all these women, he's diddling the kids. So you can imagine, not only is he causing all of this trauma to these minors, but he also was alleged to give an STD to minors. So he's slanging community infected peen to everybody. It's not that serious. I promise you it's not. It is not that serious at all. Let me go back to my video and I'll play some more of it. But let me fast forward past this showdown between the family members, because I feel like we get the gist. And let's play some more. In quotes. Now, I went over Naziyah's Instagram page with you guys in a prior video, and I pointed out a couple of things, but I want to take a closer look at two posts that are on her social media. So on this post here, there was a lot of people who said that this was not Jarvis's shop. Now, they were like, Neek, you know, you do good work, but this is not his shop, blah, blah, blah. This looked like an auto shop to me, okay? I'm not taking your word for it. This don't look like no grandma. That right there looks like the thing where you lift up the car and you raise up the car, and the things behind her look like a auto shop, okay? So until I get different confirmation from a credible source, this looked like the shop to me, okay? So on August 5th, 2023, she posted up a post in what looks like Jarvis's shop. So as you see right here, that's the date. It says August 5th, 2023. Now, this is 8 months after she been warned about the allegations, and she was put on notice that he had been inappropriate with people in the family. She had been put on notice, I'm sure by then, by other girlfriends of inappropriate allegations about him and so much more, and still decided to allow Naziyah and the other twin, allowed her 9-year-old, and Shannon allowed her 11-year-old to all go to this shop to clean up, okay? Now, in this post where it appears that she is at the shop, let me just play it. I can't play the music, but let me just play it. All right. So she's looking in the camera and, you know, all seductive. The very next post that she posts after she leaves what to me looks like the shop is her at home. So here she still has the same outfit on, the same, she's still using the same video effect. She has the lanyard, the shirt. And you can see the date right here is also August 5th, 2023. She starts to sing this song. And I can't play the whole song because of copyright, but we'll go over this in a little bit more detail.
If only you were mine. If only you were mine.
All right. So she starts to sing this song where she says, if only you were mine. If only you were mine. After leaving what seemingly looks like she was with Jarvis in his shop. Now, I don't know this song in particular. When I first heard it, I didn't really, it didn't really ring a bell, like which song it was. And I decided to put this song in Google to see what the actual song lyrics are saying. All right, so by now you guys should have made it to the halfway point of the video. If only you were mine. And let's get back to the manipulation that he had on her, how he was playing with her mind is sickening. Now, let me pull up the lyrics. And the lyrics are very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, when Tink came out with her album, I remember trying to listen to certain songs. And I think this probably was one of them that when I heard G Herbo start rapping, I just immediately turned it off. But because of Naziyah Harris' case, I decided to take a listen to the lyrics, okay? So let's go on over to the chorus of the song. It says, if only you were mine, if only you were mine. And then G Herbo says, baby, I'm thugging. I can't be your boyfriend. If only you were mine. If only you were mine. And then G Herbo says, maybe I could be, but I don't know if I should be. If only you were mine. If only you were mine. I can't be yours, baby. You know I be on tour crazy. If only you were mine. If only you were mine. It says, just keep that on the low. Baby, you know how it go. Okay? Keep it on the low. You know how it go. And as I was reading these lyrics and the way that she was, licking in that camera, it just hit me in the gut. And it just infuriated me that this man really had this girl just, in this haze, and how the people that were put in place to protect her did nothing to step in, intervene, take notice, stop his visits, nothing once they came aware that there were allegations that he was inappropriate with other girls in their family, leading to this. Now let's go on over and let's skip over G Herbo's part because it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's go on to Tink's verse, okay? Let's go on to Tink's verse because it's crazy how it just lines up. It says, you got me effed up. If you think that I'ma be chasing these ends, my phone off when I'm next to you, and I'm trying things that I never do. Your money long, but your head gone. My friends telling me don't. Problem is, you a street in, and you always sending me off. Truly, you are my best friend. I fell in love, and I can't pretend. Vibe right, so don't fall back. If we go together, just call it that. See how I show you off, 'cause I ain't ashamed of you. I'm just sick of playing all these guessing games with you. Tatted on me, we skin deep, and I ride with him, no DMV. Test drive it, it's all yours. I miss you there when you on tour. Understand you a boss man, you busy getting your hustle on. But every N got one B that he can call on when he feel alone. Bottom B, your main thing, your best drug, your worst pain, your girlfriend, your confidant, these N's acting so nonchalant. But I know you need this. It ain't no secret. Plus, I'm the loyal type. I'm just trying to make you mine. Okay? And all of these lyrics are not in the video where she was, singing on the bed. but the actual lyrics, how she was using the filter that made it appear that she had this like tattoo on her face, and listening to what the lyrics say and how she was singing them.
If only you were mine. Baby, I'm thugging.
Ugh. Sickening. Sick. Sick. But anyways, I just wanted to point that out to you guys because, crazy. Now, if you listen to the messaging on her social media and then you pair that with the actual text messages from him that he sent, crazy. Crazy. It's a lot and it's too much at the same time. Now, let's get into Naziyah actually going missing and how things transpired after that. Now, let me show you guys a clip of this news conference where they did a press conference, showed zero emotion. The grandmother was trying to fake cry, and she was basically calling out for Naziyah. All right? So let me show you guys that.
I'm asking anyone that knows anything about my granddaughter, please contact the police department. She's been missing for a very long time. Naziyah is a very sweet child. This is not of her character. We've been looking for her. We've been passing out flyers. We've been calling people. We've been knocking on doors. We have done some of everything. And we're asking anybody that has any information, I don't care who it is, please come forth, contact the police department. Her life could be in danger. Please call the police department. I want my baby home. Just bring her home, please. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Just one more, Chief, one more community minister.
What's going on, caller? Who is this and where you calling from?
I am another cousin of the family.
Okay.
I think that they got something to do with it and they got something to hide, i.e., that's why Annette was on that goddamn TV conference that everybody saw, and she ain't show no remorse. She ain't even speak out to Naziyah and say, Naziyah, come home. We miss you. We love. She's talking about whoever got him and or whoever got her, excuse me, and all this other stuff like that. She ain't show no remorse, no crying, no nothing like that. And then the auntie, who was also in her chair that's standing next to her with the glasses, she ain't have shit to say. And then when you called her, she declined the call. How was your niece missing and you declining calls and you declining interviews and you don't want to go on TV and say nothing about your granddaughter and about your niece?
All right. So as you hear that, and also you hear the cousin Roxy speak up, she was fake and phony on that press conference. Okay, it just was a crock of BS. And it was a whole lot of. Well, Kenya, the one who had been calling them out prior, she came back to social media to call them out again. So Kenya decided to make some posts, and this is what she had to say. So in 2023, Kenya tried to warn them about Jarvis and let them know and let the world know on Facebook that they were protecting a PDFer. Now, fast forward to Naziyah goes missing a whole year later in 2024. Kenya comes back on social media to let them know how she feels about it. So on January 11th, 2024, a few days after Naziyah had gone missing, Shannon puts up a poster on her Facebook to try to get people to, I guess, give them tips as to where Naziyah is. So she posted and she says, "Please, any information is greatly needed. This is my niece Naziyah, 13 years old. Have you seen her? Please help get my niece home. Please contact Detroit Police Department. Last seen leaving school Tuesday. Please share, share, share." So the next day, Kenya, the one who was going toe-to-toe with them before, she chimes in, and this is what she says. "Can't sweep PDFers under the rug anymore. It's not okay, Annette. All right?" And to that, the same twin that was rumbling with her a year prior, she decided to go at Kenya again. So she says, "Here we go with the lies. I'm going to say this for the whole family. If you not going to help look, share a post, shut the F up. If you're not. All those lies and assumption people make, Kenya, you making out of yourself, not assuming, dummy head." Okay? So somebody in the comments said, "Girl, ignore her. This is distractions. God, bring her home as it pertains to Naziyah." And Shannon replies and she says, "All we want is Tuda to come home safe and unharmed. Anything else is so irrelevant. Keep the ignorance and ignorant people away." All right. To that, Kenya replies and says, "From what I understand, she had been missing already for 3 days and no one, not even Annette Harris, reported it. Her own grandmother, the one who let a grown man known as a PDFer around her. And this is a new one. If anything has happened to her, well, we will be aware of who didn't care." So when Naziyah went missing, Shannon and her ploy to look for her, she asked some of her other family members to share the post that she was missing. One of the family members that she approached and told to share the missing person's post was her cousin in this photo, Roxy, that is between the grandmother and one of the twins wearing the glasses. Now, this is a throwback photo of Roxy at the twins' graduation in 2011. So as you can see, they have their class of 2011 shirts on. And in this photo right here, you have, I believe to the left is Shannon. You have Naziyah's mother. You have Naziyah's grandmother. You have Roxy and the other backyardigan twin, Marquita. Now, if I have the twins wrong, then hey, either or, one or the other, you see them on here. So after Shannon shared this post and she was trying to get people to find and help her find Naziyah, she slid in the DM of Roxy to try to get her on board to look for Naziyah as well. Now, it's important to note that Roxy, who has been keeping her foot on their necks, she has not seen Naziyah since Naziyah was 2 years old. She does not currently live in Detroit, but she is related to them. She is family and has been speaking out on social media. So let's get on into some of the messages and let me bring you guys up to speed on what they say. So they start to show a couple of interactions dated in 2023 in October. And then they're telling each other, like, "Oh, I love you too," things like that. Then on January 11th, 2 days after Naziyah goes missing, Shannon messages her cousin Roxy and asking people if they seen her. Roxy replied and said, "Whoa, what the?" Shannon replies and says, "Please share, cuz." Roxy says, "Why would she run away? Who she live with?" Shannon replies and she replies saying Tuda, meaning Naziyah's nickname. "Tuda lives with my mama. We think she running away with a boy or an older guy." Oh, wow. What the F? How old is she? Really? Oh no, what the F? Shannon says 13. Then she goes, what is Kenya posting? Because I don't follow her. Girl, you better shut up. So she's telling Kenya that Kenya needs to shut up, which is the person who was advocating for these young girls a year prior. She says, well, Key seen 2 statuses on her page talking about, from my understanding, the grandmother of the missing kid didn't report anything until 3 days later. The second post talking PDF in the family. You got to check them as well. Key is blocked her. Key A blocked her after that. Roxy says, what? So when did y'all report her missing? This is crazy. She says, Wednesday morning. How would Kenya know all of this? Oh, I thought she was missing when you sent me the post. Shannon says, my mama went to the school. DPD came to my house. They've been here all effing week long. Oh, okay. So the school said they didn't see her either? And then she says, Kenya don't know ish. Only what she assumed. Then Roxy says, was the N-word at the school waiting or something at the bus stop? Oh my God. Shannon says she never came home Tuesday. Damn, cuz. So she just come home Tuesday? So wait, what the bus driver say? If she was last seen, maybe the bus driver needs to be questioned, because this is sickening for an older guy. Even a boy is bad. OMG, I hope she's okay. Shannon says, all we know is she got on the school bus and got dropped off on the corner of 3 Mile and Cornwall. Wow. Oh my God. Has she done this before? Do you, the boy who it may be? And I think she meant like, do you know the boy who it might be? She said, Tuda asked me where 2 streets were at, Belfort and Alford Drive. This is her first time. Tuda is sneaky as ish. Okay? And then the cousin says, so who lives over there? She said, we don't know. Now, I'm going to pause reading this right here because she's a lie. And the reason why we know that she's a lie, and we know that she knows what's in the area of Belfort and whatever these streets are, is because the prosecutors asked her about these streets and who does she know in that area when she was on the stand. Let me recap and play that for you guys real quick, and then I'll be back to read some more.
Before January the 9th, you had a conversation with Naziyah about a location on Outer Drive in Belfort?
Yes.
And that was surprising to you, right?
Correct.
That's on the east side of Detroit?
Yes.
Did you end up giving her directions on how to get to that location?
Yes.
Why did you give her directions?
I was just getting out the shower and just getting myself together. She asked me, she said, hey, Titi. She said, where is Belfort and Outer Drive? And I told her, I said, you know exactly where Belfort and Outer Drive at. I said, Outer Drive is right where the wine basket at. And I said, you know where Belfort at.
Does that location have any special significance to you?
No.
Do you know anybody at that location?
No, the only thing that I'm used to, I'm familiarized with just picking up Jarvis on Outer Drive in Belfort. It's just on the corner.
All right. So far she says to the left with an older guy. To the sneaky. All I know is Tuda asked me about these 2 streets, Belfort and Outer Drive. Who does those older guy, Belfort guy, you mean to tell me that an aunt who a year prior was put on notice that her man had done inappropriate things with a family member, a baby mama who knows everything that her baby daddy be doing as it pertains to all the other women that he be dealing with, and a baby mama who is aware of those coordinates, didn't think my man, baby daddy, got something to do with it? Or was she covering for him here, trying to put and steer people along in another direction? Let's continue. So the cousin says, do you know who the boy is? And she says, oh, okay, damn. I think she meant, does she have a boyfriend? And Shannon says, the police said it used to be a skip house in that area. And then Roxy says, or girlfriend, shoot, you don't know this generation. Really, that's what they call now. The crib, not the bando. Did y'all ride over there? And Shannon says, all her friends saying we did nothing wrong. She wants some D. Then her cousin says, how is Net in Lady? What? And so Net and Lady, if you guys don't know, I listened to some of the conversations from other family member, and I believe Lady is the nickname of Naziyah's mother. And she says, Mama haven't processed it, but Lady going through it. And I guess Net meaning Annette and Lady meaning Naziyah's mother. Net and Lady. So Mama haven't processed yet, but Lady going through it. And then Roxy says, is she not a virgin? Shannon says, she better be a damn virgin. Man, this is so sad. Lady back? Well, can't be if she wanted D. Okay, because she's responding to this part where she says she better be a virgin. And she's like, she can't be if she wanted D. And then I guess she's replying to this comment where she says Lady back, and she's saying she never left. And then she's saying she's still here. Oh my gosh. She says yes. And then she says, what? I thought she was gone. And then she said, she replied to when the girl said, well, she can't be if she wanted D. And she replied and told her that she don't use tampons at all. And then she said, what? I thought she was gone. And then she replying to about Naziyah's mother by saying plans changed. All right. So then she says, that don't mean that, because I was using them before I was effing. OMG, I feel so bad, dog. Yeah, right, babe. They do. I would have been came and seen her. That's why I said that. And then she says she's here now. She says, oh, okay. So then days after that, she says, hey, Pooh, still no word? She says, hey, cuz, nothing as of yet. The detectives came by yesterday morning. They asked us if we had any luck. OMFing cuz, please say it ain't so. What the F? Now, this is too long. So then she says, to be honest, I do believe Tuda planned this ish out. All she really did is watch and observe Vari when he did it last year, to be honest. She said, wow, what the F? So where did he run to? His girlfriend's house? This is crazy. They caught him on the first try. But she don't got a boyfriend or none of that. Wow. And she still ain't been back to school? Well, at this point, it's scary. I'm beyond worried now. And Shannon says, we all worried. And the cousin says, I really hope and pray she is okay. So, cuz they just put it on crime in the D. Why is it not on the news? Okay. And then she ended up calling her cousin and so on and so forth. And she was basically checking on her. Now, one reason I can assume why it wasn't on the news is because if Shannon is telling her cousin that she thinks that Naziyah ran off with some boy, you better believe she was telling the detectives that same story and reporting her as a runaway, which Naziyah's father also spoke about in a prior interview with Mark D on his channel. He talked about how he was suspicious of the grandmother, how they originally reported her as a runaway, and how things were very fishy on his end. How he thought that, you know, he was doing the right thing by giving Naziyah up. And turns out he actually was not. We're going to go over that, and then I'll be back to talk to y'all some more.
But wait. Before we get into what the dad had to say, I found it interesting that one of the twins had posted on January 26, 2024, that Naziyah had been spotted at a gas station and a liquor store, etc., etc. I'm just like, that's suspicious, and that'll go along with some of what the father says later. Now, in addition to her saying that Naziyah was spotted on...
All right, I'm going to pause this real quick. For those of you guys just now coming in, this is not a new video. This is a video that I did a year ago. So somebody in the chat was like, oh, I'm confused. You said last year, this or that. This was a video that I did last year around this same time. And all of the information that was available then, all I'm doing right now is just for the people who missed some of these updates or are hearing about Naziyah Harris for the first time, we're going through all of the receipts that I was made available at this time and resharing the case.
And that date, Shannon also decided to defend the fact that they had chains and locks on the refrigerator. So in the beginning, I showed you guys videos of Naziyah dancing in front of a fridge in their home. And on that fridge, they had locks and chains on it. And so Shannon wanted people to know that it was legal for them to have these locks on the fridge. All right. So she says, since you all seem to be struggling with this concept, let me help clarify. By state law, personal refrigerators can have locks/chains as long as children have access to their fridge at all times. Good morning. So she posted that thinking that people are dumb, because if the kids got access to the fridge at all times, what would be the point of having locks in the first place if they have access anyways? Makes no sense, redundant, cancels each other out. Doesn't make any sense. I feel like they were neglecting those kids in more ways than one, and it's just unfortunate as ever. Now, in addition to that, she had her nerve to also post up a post. Let me see if I could find that post real quick.
Before I go further, when I had posted this, a lot of people in my comments was like defending the fact of having chains on the refrigerator. If you are a person and you have chains on your refrigerator, I just feel like that says more about you as a parent than the children. Because yes, there are some kids who have behavioral issues. Yes, there are some kids that will eat up all the snacks. But I think there are tools to properly mitigate and observe or try to get your children to be accountable for what they do, how they eat. There are things that you can do to prevent that. Like, we're in 2026 now, and you could put a camera anywhere. You could sit the camera in front to where a child knows that you can see if they, because you know, a lot of the back-to-back eating that kids do is because they feel like a parent, like they could get away with like sneaking with food that they're not supposed to have. Which I don't have a kid, my kid does not eat like back-to-back like that. Like I would never even, I don't even understand why a person needs chains. But if you are one of those people who feel like it's necessary, how about propping a camera right in front of the fridge to where you can monitor for yourself versus putting chains on the fridge? I just feel like chains and locks on fridges is diabolical. I feel like it's ridiculous.
Quick. All right, 2 days prior to her saying that about the fridge, she says, my niece would be home if only I knew her location. But one thing for sure, don't try to malign my reputation by painting an untrue picture of who I am. All right, just a load of crap because, girl, it's the audacity for me talking about my niece would be home if only I knew her location. Your niece would be home if only you decided to do the right thing and put your children and your niece above you wanting a piece of a man, because you had warnings 2 years prior to her going missing that he should not have had access in or around those girls at all. You chose to ignore it, knowing that he was an offender, and all of those things are the things you deserve the worst. Now, with that being said, let's get into Naziyah's father and what he had to say as it pertains to his opinions and all of that.
Naziyah's father, Mervyn Jennings, sat in his pickup truck in the parking lot, in tears waiting to get answers to find out what happened to his daughter.
She was last seen on Tuesday, January 9th.
They came up to see me at the hospital. They asked me some questions about my daughter. Have I seen her? And I haven't seen my daughter.
Naziyah's father, Mervyn Jennings, had been in the hospital for weeks recovering from a stroke and other health issues when he learned of Naziyah's disappearance from school investigators.
All right, let's stop that right there and just take that all in. Naziyah's father's in the hospital at this time dealing with health complications, and he finds out that his biological daughter is missing from school investigators. I found that interesting that he would be contacted by school investigators to let him know that Naziyah was missing and not the grandmother. Well, when he calls into a radio show, he then tells the dynamic of the grandmother, the reason why he gave her up, and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to make a note of that before we continued. Let's go on.
Mervyn suffers from congestive heart failure, but is out searching himself every day he's well enough to, with his wife Naziyah by his side.
And it's just been very trying, taxing, and empty, but we're not going to stop.
They have been so moved by all who have turned out to help, especially since Naziyah's disappearance has caused a rift within the family.
I want to see her again. You know, my son, my daughter wants to see her again.
I mean, you know, your son and your daughter want to see her, but like, did they ever see her in the first place? Now, the next part is a radio call-in that he did to 7 Mile Radio, where he talks about abandoning Naziyah, signing over his rights for the sake of that loving wife that we just saw in the previous clip, and trying to conceal her birth identity and all of the things from the wife. Let's hear how he explains his abandonment of his child and how he tries to justify it.
So with Naziyah and Naziyah's mom, just briefly, okay, we had made an agreement when she was born that the grandmother would take care of her. Now, the grandmother needed full rights to be able to provide full care, you know, so we both signed over our rights to the grandmother. I put myself on child support. Now, once you did that, I put myself on child support. You know, I would still go over their birthdays, taking clothes, everything. When I had this procedure done to my heart, I didn't have a phone for a while because I was in the hospital. They put a defibrillator pacemaker in. I had to go to rehab to work, so I lost contact. When I got out of there, they had moved, so I couldn't get in contact with them. Now, forward 3 or 4, maybe 5 years later to now, however much time that was, now my daughter's missing.
So you had this heart situation 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, up until your daughter went missing. So for 3, 4, or 5 years, you had no contact with your child. You had no desire to properly locate your child because you did have means to do so. You said that you put yourself on child support. Oh, I did the right thing. You know, I put myself on child support. So if you put yourself on child support and you lost contact, say you didn't know the address of where the grandmother was, there is a paper trail of where that money is going. And if you're paying child support, you can contact the courts to locate your child in a 3, 4, 5-year span. In most cases where you put yourself on child support, you go down, as you say, and put yourself on child support, they have to establish paternity. So if they establish paternity and you are the recorded father, then you can petition the courts for parenting time if you wanted to, but you didn't want to because you wanted to live life with your wife and just have that situation where it was. Let's hear what the rest you had to say. What else?
Now, forward 3 or 4, maybe 5 years later to now, however much time that was, now my daughter's missing.
Okay. Now, I want to say, without, I don't mean no disrespect by it, but like, without getting into too much your business, your personal business, I guess as deep as you want to go, why was it that you felt like you needed to give your rights up to her as opposed to raising her yourself if you knew that the mother was in whatever condition that she was in where she couldn't take care of her? Why didn't you take her?
All right, so I made a decision for one without my wife knowing. See, I'm married, so I made a decision without my wife knowing. And her name is Chantel. Tail knew my position where I was in because we had worked together. And, we had told the grandmother, the situation. So, and I know people are going to go ham or whatever, but I tried to be as responsible as my mind at that time could take. And, I didn't run. Everybody want to say something. Go get them other guys that ain't taking care of this and ain't taking care of that. I took care of it.
I mean, if abandoning your child for 3, 4, 5 years, since you couldn't keep track of how many years had went by up until the time she went missing, was taking care of it, then yeah, you took really good care of it. And by taking care of it, you was making sure that that situation was far removed from your real life and it did not affect your household and your wife and all of that. So, I mean, yeah, you took care of it, all right.
So you made that decision without your wife. So do you feel like had you told your wife the situation, she would have what? Maybe convinced you to take her or convinced you to do what you did?
You know what? Now, when all this happened just now, I even apologized to my wife because I took away my wife's ability to, have her own feelings for the situation, and I knew that, and I had to have that conversation again with my wife. Now, had I not done what I done, I know for sure this situation wouldn't happen. And it's tearing me apart because she would have had the 2 homes to go to and come to and a lot of stuff. But, my background growing up, it wasn't, I think it's still, you got to understand, everybody don't make right decisions. Everybody just hear the story. Oh, he should have done this. I'm pretty sure you should have done some things too.
Sir, we're not going to compare shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Now, I should have left home 10 minutes earlier the other day so that I wasn't late to do what I had to do. But we're not going to compare my shoulda, coulda, wouldas with you outright abandoning your daughter for what you claim to be 3, 4, or 5 years up until she went missing. But I believe it was even longer than that. You claim that you signed your rights over and then you were trying to conceal it from your wife. You put yourself on child support. You claim that prior to you abandoning her for this 3, 4, or 5 years, you claim that prior to that you were going to birthday parties and special occasions. But when y'all was doing these news conferences and all of that, I never even seen you hold up no picture of you and your child together. So I doubt that it was, I feel like it was even longer than the 3, 4, and 5 years that you say. But let's move the story along, okay? Let's fast forward to when Naziyah goes missing. I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of background of what he had to say as to why he wasn't in her life. Now, let's fast forward to Naziyah goes missing, and then he talks about how he found certain things to be suspicious as it pertains to the grandmother. According to him, he thinks that she was not properly reported to the police as a missing person. He thinks that they went to the police and they reported her as a runaway. Now, if you guys listen to the response of the police from the news, they didn't actively start searching for Naziyah until a month later, because then they started to treat it as a official missing person. But he believes that the response was the way it was because they were going to the police telling them a story like, oh, she just ran away. She'll be, she'll be back, that kind of thing. So let me move the story forward and get to that.
She reported Naziyah's disappearance to Detroit Public Schools Community District. Their police department launched an investigation the very next day, on January 10th.
All right, so as you can see, the Public Schools Police Department, not actual DPD, the Public Schools Department launched their quote-unquote investigation. And then that's where the school is the one that notified Naziyah's father of her disappearance, I guess, as a part of their investigation. Now, it wasn't until a month later that DPD got notified. All right, so let me replay that so that when you're listening to it, you understand the different channels that this went through.
She reported Naziyah's disappearance to Detroit Public Schools Community District. Their police department launched an investigation the very next day, on January 10th. More than a month later, after hitting a roadblock, they notified Detroit police of Naziyah's disappearance. That was February 13th.
A 13-year-old girl in Naziyah.
DPD got to work immediately, canvassing the East Side community where Naziyah lived and was last seen. It would be the first of many major searches.
A missing girl who has no history of being a runaway, has never done that before. Her missing persons is not handed over to Detroit Police Department until a month later, and prior to that, for a whole month, the school is doing the investigation, or the school's police department is doing the investigation, and it don't get handed over to the actual police department until a month later. I wonder why, but let's hear why Naziyah's father suspects that is.
Now, when we were trying, I said, Mama, and after a while, I'm like, Mama, we done put these flyers up. All the kids that we talking to, they're saying they know her, but they ain't seen her in 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, that's about when the thing happened. It ain't nobody seeing her, but Mama telling me they seeing her running up and down the street. And I'm trying to keep calm. Now, after we go through, and I'm going to jump right back, DPS and the Detroit Police Department, they do have a certain procedure and protocol on how they do things. If it's a runaway, I think they treat the situation different than a missing person. I don't know. Now that all this came out, I think she was reported as a runaway. And I think that was set up like that. I really do. I really do think it was set up like a runaway for time purposes. And I'm simply saying that because I asked Grandma, I said, now look, Ma, I just want to ask a few more questions.
All right, so to summarize the next part that he says, he basically talks about the time where Naziyah was at school. She had walked to the back and there was a man back there. She was talking to him. She told one of her teachers that it was her dad. They asked her dad if it was him, and he said no, it wasn't him. And the dad said he felt like she was protecting somebody. Then he goes on to say this.
So now, not going back real quick. Now, mind, I told you when we got out, we was passing out flyers. I would go over there and ask her what area should I go in. She was like, well, go down there to Chatsworth, on Chatsworth. So I guess the back of the school sits on Chatsworth. I said, well, why would I go down there on Chatsworth? She was like, because that's when Naziyah walked through the field and met with that guy at the truck. I said, so she walked through the back of the school, Mom, and walked through the field? You know, I'm trying to figure out. She was like,
you say all of that to say that they
the
knew that she was possibly dealing with somebody out of her age range and was not doing nothing about it?
There was so many stories that just bang around in our head. I'm like, I'll be passing out. Like, if I cough or if I get too emotional right now, my chest will puff up. And then I can pass out, but I got a heart defibrillator and boom, it bring me back. That's just what I be going through, dealing with the stuff. I'm never alone, like by myself, ever.
All right, so as you know, or some of you guys may not know, her father is no longer with us. He passed away the year that she went missing. So this is a quote from Fox 2 Detroit. It says, Harris's father, Mervyn Jennings, passed away over the summer months after his daughter went missing. His friend and Detroit Police Commissioner for District 1 says that he spent months searching for his daughter in fields and in abandoned homes while sick. She is alleging that he literally died of a broken heart and that his congestive heart failure got him sicker because he went out to look for her. I mean, it sounds good. It sounds like he already just had health problems and he succumbed to them.
Now, the family has been getting a lot of scrutiny, the aunt, the grandmother, and things like that. But may he rest in peace. Naziyah's father failed her tremendously as well. I know that he is resting in peace and people don't like to speak ill of the dead, but you know, sorry that he had this situation happen where he had a problem with his heart, but you failed your child too. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. This particular video, I just wanted to show proof that they knew, were aware, and failed these girls. All right, so that's part of my previous coverage on this topic. If you guys want to come up and let me know what you guys think about his arrest, and I mean not his arrest, him pleading guilty, I can drop a StreamYard link in the chat and we could, you know, chat a little bit. But as I stated, her entire village failed her. Her mother, who ended up being an addict, failed her. Her father, who made her disposable, failed her. Her grandmother, who she was the guardian of her, failed her. Her aunt, who was so desperate for a piece of a man, failed her. Her aunt's twin sister also failed her. And everybody else a part of her village that seen what was going on and allowed it to continue failed her tremendously. It is so sad that she had to be groomed, violated, impregnated, and then ultimately murdered by the hands of her aunt's man or baby daddy, because her aunt offered her, in my opinion, as tribute. It is in my opinion, now I don't have it to be a fact, but it is my opinion that she knew that he had interest in the little girls, but she was so desperate to have a piece of him that, in my opinion, she offered her and her child as tribute. And it is so unfortunate that you have so many women who are desperate for a piece of a man that they would do such. And when I look at Jarvis, he just looks like he gives little wee wee energy. Like, I don't know what his pecker looks like, but the way that he was moving in these streets, it just gives little wee wee energy. And I feel like a lot of these little wee wee men who can't really fully satisfy like a grown woman, I think that a lot of them go after these little girls because they don't know what to compare it to. Their body is, they're just now, being violated. So they don't know. And again, I don't know what his pecker looks like, but to me, I just assume that it's a little wee wee and it just gives little wee wee energy. And I hope that while he serves his time in protective custody, because I'm sure they're going to put him in PC, that another degenerate and deplorable that's also in PC, that also has these diddling fingers, diddles him, and he sees what it's really like to be violated. So that's that. Somebody said, I hate Neek's voice, but the content be spot on. I hate bitches like you that feel like y'all always gotta say some shit to get attention. Okay? The video is about Naziyah, but it's always the female like you that want attention. Here, do you want a cookie? Do you want a cookie? Now that you said that, now that you got that off your chest, like, do you feel better? Do you feel better about yourself? Like, do you feel seen? Do you feel heard? Now, back to Naziyah. Somebody said, Neek, did you see that he said he dumped her in the water? I seen somebody comment that in the comment, but I went to different articles and I don't see that posted anywhere. If you guys have a legit source, like a legit source, not just somebody on Facebook just making up a caption, if there is a legit credible source, send it to my DM and we can go over it and look at it. In the meantime, if there's anybody who wants to come up, let me know. I can drop the StreamYard link in the chat if you guys want to, share what you guys feel about this whole case. And I feel like a part of me is happy that he pled guilty because the victims don't have to go through the trial of seeing his little pea brain head looking at them while they have to relive the trauma that he had to go through. But a part of me wishes that he sat through trial, listen to how he made everybody feel. But sentencing, they'll do that. Okay, so if you guys don't know, when it comes to like a person being found guilty, before the judge lays down her sentence, they're going to allow all of the victims to speak, right? Everybody who was impacted by him will be able to address the court. So I hope on that day that the judge makes him take off that mask, okay? He should not be allowed to hide his face, okay? And if he so desperately needs a face covering because he's running with this virus stuff, then it needs to be one of those clear shields where we can see straight through him. Like, I don't think that he should be able to cower and hide behind those masks. I think that he needs to sit there and everybody who he violated needs to be able to look him dead in the eye and talk to him directly. Every preliminary hearing, every court date, every update, they're allowing him to wear these masks. And I feel like we all should write the judge and put that request in. I need to find out who the judge is. I think that we all need to spam her email and request that he not be allowed to hide behind the mask. I'm going to find out the exact judge, okay? And I'm going to find out what her email is. And I say that we all flood her inbox. we all flood her inbox, or whoever the judge is. I have to look into it and find out. We flood their inbox and demand that at sentencing, he not be allowed to hide. Okay? I feel like he should not be allowed to hide. He needs to sit in what he did. And somebody in the chat said that it was possible that Shannon got immunity. I don't know. I didn't see that reported anywhere. I'll find out more information about this hearing at a later date, and I'll find out exactly what was said and everything. But yeah, he deserves to be done the worst. You said Judge Aaliyah Sabri. I think that was the lady who did the preliminary hearing. I don't think that is the current judge. She was that name sounds familiar. Aaliyah Sabri sounds familiar, and I believe that her job was only to hear the case for the preliminary hearing, and then her role was just to determine if they had enough evidence to move it to trial. So she's not the judge. Hold on, let me look up that name. If that's the black lady that was at the preliminary hearing, that's not his judge. No, that's not his judge. I mean, that's not her. That's not they assigned the case back to her. Because she's the judge that did the preliminary hearing. Unless they did a backdoor reassignment, that's not normally how it goes. Normally, whoever hears the preliminary hearing is not the judge that does the trial. They pass it to a different judge. Now, unless there was a shortage of judges, she would not have been the trial judge. So, she's to my knowledge right now, she's not the judge. Let me see if I could do a quick Google. Let's see. I'll find out. I'll pull up his record and find out, but I don't think that it's that lady. 'Cause that's not how it works. But anyways, that's all for this video. I'll talk to y'all later. Nobody said that y'all wanted to come up and you said put it in the bio of this video later. Yes. I'll find out, and I will update you guys on who the actual judge is. Because that lady Sabri is not the judge. Judge Hathaway, you said, is the judge. Let me see. Let's look it up. Judge Hathaway. What's her first name? Judge, what's the judge's full name? Judge Hathaway Jarvis. But let me see what comes up. Hold on. Let's pull it up. Random IG stuff. I'll pull up his record later. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. Make sure you hit the like button. Y'all let me know what y'all think down below, and I'll talk to y'all in the next video. In the meantime, I'm gonna go drink me some tea because, baby, I'm trying to get over this cold, honey. But it's still, I'm gonna tussle with anybody who got something